everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel Ignited Medicos. This is Deeksha. In this video, we are going to learn about the beta oxidation of fatty acids, which comes under the heading lipid metabolism. First, let us look at the major lipids which are present in our body. They are triacylglycerides, fatty acids, cholesterols, etc. In our body, fatty acids are stored as triacylglycerides. So, when we break down this triacylglycerides, we will get one molecule of glycerol and three molecules of fatty acids. And this process is known as lipolysis or lipolysis. Here, the word lipo refers to lipids, and the word lysis refers to breakdown. Hence, we are having lipid breakdown in this process. This is called lipolysis, and the enzyme used in this reaction is lipases. Now, let's see how this fatty acid undergoes metabolism in our body. The fatty acids undergo oxidation and yield us high amount of energy in the form of ATP, and this is how the structure looks like. This is the long carbohydrate chain which has carboxylic acid group at one end, and that end is called as carboxylic acid. The other end which we can find the methyl group is called as methyl end. And to see about the numbering, we will start numbering from the carboxyl end. This carbon is numbered as 1. Adjacent to that carbon is 2, this is 3, 4, 5 and so on. The carbon next to the carboxyl end, carboxylic group is named as alpha carbon. The carbon next to the alpha carbon is named as beta carbon, and like this we'll be, and in the same way we will be naming alpha, beta, gamma, delta and so on. To name from the methyl end, it will be like omega 1, omega 2, omega 3, omega 4 and so on. Here, the bond between alpha and beta breaks and produces energy in the form of ATP, and hence it is named as beta oxidation. Why should we learn this beta oxidation? Let's see why. As I said earlier, it provides energy and it also provides acetyl-CoA, which is helpful in formation of ketone bodies. And it is the rich source of energy to us in our body. And now, let's see what are fatty acids and what are fatty acyl-CoAs. Now, let's get back to this diagram. In this diagram, except the carboxylic acid group, we will replace all this chain as R. It is the small depiction of this picture. Here we have RCOOH, that is fatty acid. When we replace OH group with S-CoA group, that is sulfur-CoA group, we will get fatty acyl-CoA. In the same way, we can name the compounds which form like this, that is acetic acid, acetyl-CoA. Acetic acid is formed by two carbons, hence the R group is CH2 here. So, this OH group of acetic acid is replaced by S-CoA group, hence the acetic acid name is changed as acetyl-CoA. The very commonly used term palmitic acid has 16 carbons, and the acyl-CoA form of palmitic acid is palmitoyl-CoA. Now let's see, where does this beta oxidation occurs in our body? As I have drawn here, this occurs in the liver, muscle, adrenal medulla, renal cortex, heart, etc. And to be specific, the intracellular site of this oxidation is mitochondria. So, as we all know, mitochondria is present inside the cell in the cytoplasm. Now first, the fatty acid should reach the cytoplasm through blood circulation, and then from the cytoplasm, it has to reach the mitochondria. Let's see how does that happen. It happens basically in 3 steps. One is activation of fatty acids, that is conversion of fatty acids into fatty acyl-CoA. The second one is transport of fatty acyl-CoA into mitochondrial matrix through Carnitine shuttle. The third step is reactions of beta oxidation in the mitochondrial matrix. This occurs in 4 steps: oxidation, hydration, oxidation again, and thiolytic cleavage. You can remember this as OHOT. You can even remember as O hot. Oxidation is hot. Okay, now I'll exactly tell you why all these three steps are important. Okay, let me tell you a story first which forms the framework of our metabolism, and we will understand it in a better way. Okay, let's assume this fatty acid as a small kid present in the cytoplasm reached by the blood circulation, and where does the oxidation occurs? In the mitochondria. Now what should happen? This fatty acid, this kid should reach the mitochondria, but the kid is so small it can't reach on its own, so it starts crying in the cytoplasm telling, "Mummy, please help me out, mummy. I can't reach mitochondria. Please activate me so that I could enter the mitochondria." At that time, its mother CoA-SH comes into the picture and she says, "Don't worry, beta, I'll convert you into fatty acyl CoA and you will be easily entered into the mitochondria and undergo oxidation." So how will you remember this acyl CoA, the word? As the heading says activation, here is AC. In acyl CoA you can see AC. So you can remember this fatty acyl CoA easily. Back to the story again. So how to convert fatty acid into fatty acyl CoA? There are two main questions arising here. One is, what is the enzyme used here, and how will the mother get the energy to convert fatty acid into fatty acyl CoA? Back to first question, what is the enzyme used here? It is really easy to remember it, as there is synthesis of fatty acyl CoA. You can write the enzyme as acyl CoA synthetase. There is synthesis of acyl CoA, or it is also known as thiokinase. If you don't remember this thiokinase, it's fine, but you have to remember this enzyme acyl CoA synthetase. Both are same. Back to second question, how did the mother convert fatty acid into fatty acyl CoA? Where did the energy come from? As we all know, when ATP is converted into ADP or AMP, we will get energy. There is a huge amount of energy stored in these bonds. This is adenosine triphosphate. The blue color is adenosine and orange colors are phosphate groups, and these are bound together by a strong bond. And when these bonds are broken and the new products like AMP or ADP is formed, we will get huge amount of energy, and that energy is used to convert fatty acid into fatty acyl CoA. Here what happens is, there are 3 phosphate groups. In that, 2 phosphate groups are broken out, and it is written as AMP, that is adenosine monophosphate, and 2 inorganic pyrophosphate is removed. So now, with the help of acyl CoA synthetase and the use of ATP, this fatty acid is converted into fatty acyl CoA with the help of CoA-SH. Now this fatty acyl CoA, the same kid, is really very happy now, and it thought that, yeah, I am converted now, I am activated now, I can get into mitochondria and undergo oxidation. Now what happens in the second step? Let's see. Transport of fatty acyl CoA into mitochondrial matrix through carnitine shuttle. So what happens is, fatty acyl CoA comes near the membrane, mitochondrial membrane, and it tries to enter inside the membrane, but it can't enter. And now it is really sad and tells, Papa, where are you? Please come. This mitochondria is not letting me in. Please make me reach inside so that I can go oxidation. At that time, very protective father carnitine comes into the picture. What happens is, carnitine, the protective father, tells his son that I'll be with you. Let's become acyl carnitine together. Let's enter the mitochondrial matrix and then let's split again. And I'll come back to the cytosol again as usual. And you stay inside the mitochondrial matrix and undergo oxidation. You can imagine this as, you can imagine mitochondria as a school and cytosol is home. Now the protective father is helping fatty acyl CoA reach to the school and leaves the kid in the school, and this father gets back to home. Clear? So what happens? How does this happen near the mitochondrial membrane? Here, fatty acyl CoA and carnitine joins together and forms acyl carnitine and CoA SH. Okay, then this is done by the enzyme CAT-A or carnitine acyl transferase. It is very easy to remember. As I said, this is carnitine, this is acyl, and there is transfer of fatty acyl CoA from cytosol to mitochondrial matrix. So the enzyme name stays as carnitine acyl transferase 1. Now what happens with the help of carrier protein translocase, this reaction occurs, this transport occurs, acyl carnitine enters the mitochondrial matrix, and at the same time carnitine exits from the mitochondrial matrix. There is exchange happening here. Carnitine is carrier molecule, which is a specified carrier molecule. Now at the mitochondrial matrix, we have acyl carnitine. This acyl carnitine combines with CoA SH and forms fatty acyl CoA and carnitine again. It's actually splitting. This reaction happens with the help of CAT2 enzyme, that is carnitine acyl transferase 2 enzyme. And what happened here is the fatty acyl CoA with the help of carnitine reached the mitochondrial matrix to undergo oxidation, and this whole thing is called carnitine shuttle. Now let's see what happens in the third step. Now the fatty acyl CoA is really very happy as it reaches the mitochondria with the help of daddy carnitine and mummy CoA SH, and now it is really ready to undergo oxidation inside the mitochondrial matrix. Let's quickly look at the structure of fatty acyl CoA, then get back to story. So fatty acyl CoA looks something like this. R, carbohydrate chain, then CH2, CH2, CO, S, CoA. So this is the alpha carbon, this is beta carbon. Now let's see what we'll do with this kid now. Okay, as we learnt OHOT, O hot mnemonic before, to remember the steps of to remember 4 steps of this beta oxidation. Let's see what happens in this. So now as we can see, there are more hydrogens with the fatty acyl CoA. What we'll try is, we'll try to snatch those hydrogens from them, from this fatty acyl CoA. Let's ask fatty acyl CoA to give 2 hydrogens, one from alpha carbon, one from beta carbon. Then the fatty acyl CoA will tell, oh yeah, I have more hydrogens, I can give it to you. Okay, take. As it gives 2 hydrogen, what happens is, it gives us energy as well. What happens to the structure is, 1 hydrogen is removed from the alpha carbon, 1 hydrogen is removed from the beta carbon, hence it forms double bond in between alpha carbon and beta carbon. Okay, then it will say, I am so thirsty, I have given you all the hydrogen, please give me some water so that I will get back my energy. Then we will offer water to this structure. Okay, this structure, this double bonded structure now says, I have given you 2 hydrogens and I am feeling thirsty, please give me some water. At that time what we'll do is, we'll offer some water to this structure. At that time, H2O splits into OH and H and attaches to the alpha and beta carbon. Hydrogen attaches to alpha carbon, OH group attaches to beta carbon. Now we can see more hydrogen again in the structure. What we'll do is, we'll again snatch few hydrogens from this structure, that is 2 hydrogens from the structure, and at that time this structure will say, okay, take, I have more hydrogens, you take, you keep. So we will take these 2 hydrogens and form double bond in between them, and in this process, while it gives hydrogen to us, this hydrogen actually goes to NAD to form NADH2, which again moves into electron transport chain to give us ATP. So in this way, it gives us energy and also hydrogen. Now we have keto group by removing 2 hydrogens in this beta carbon. So what happens here is, we have took all the hydrogen which were required for us to generate ATP, and now what we'll do is, we'll break this molecule into 2 parts. What happens here is, when we break this structure into 2 parts, the compound with two carbons will be separated from the main chain. We can see it here. This carboxylic group and alpha carbon, these two separate as acetyl-CoA. Then this main structure will be there, no? This again enters the cycle. At this time, in the next cycle, these two carbons will be eliminated from the cycle. In the same way, in the next cycle, these two will be eliminated and so on. So now we know the story of this metabolism and we have overview of it. Now let's dive into the topic in detail. We have fatty acyl-CoA in the mitochondrial matrix now. What happens to this is we are oxidating this compound, that is we are removing two hydrogens from this compound. Where does two hydrogens go? It goes with FAD. Here H2 combines with FAD to form FADH2 which again enters ETC to give us 1.5 ATP. Then now after this removal there is formation of double bond and this is a trans structure. So we can name it as trans-enoyl-CoA. There is CoA group and there is double bond here. So it is ene and it is in trans form. So it is named as trans-enoyl-CoA. Then what we do is we give some water to this compound. What happens then? As I said, there is formation of hydroxy group here at the beta carbon, hence the name beta hydroxy acyl-CoA. What happens next? We'll again remove two hydrogens from the beta carbon. Where does these two hydrogens go? These go to NAD+. NAD+ combines with two hydrogen to form NADH2 and then again it goes to electron transport chain, that is ETC. Then it gives 2.5 ATP. And now what is the structure we got? We got ketone. So the name is beta keto acyl-CoA. In the beta position there is keto group, beta keto acyl-CoA. Then again we'll break this compound into two molecules. No, one is acetyl-CoA, the other is fatty acyl-CoA. This fatty acyl-CoA will has two carbons less than the original fatty acyl-CoA, as I said here. So this acetyl-CoA will be separated from the main chain and then this is regenerated. So let us look at the enzymes here. The first enzyme is dehydrogenase, acyl-CoA dehydrogenase, as hydrogens are removed. So dehydrogenase enzyme acts here. In the first step of oxidation, we have acyl-CoA dehydrogenase, In the second step, that is hydration, the enzyme is enoyl-CoA hydratase. We are hydrating the molecule, right? So the enzyme name is hydratase, enoyl-CoA hydratase. Then in the third step, that is oxidation again, it is the enzyme used is beta hydroxy acyl-CoA dehydrogenase. Here again we are removing hydrogen, dehydrogenase. So the name is beta hydroxy acyl-CoA dehydrogenase. In the fourth step, what are we doing? We are breaking this KID. We are doing cleavage in the sense we are breaking this molecule into two molecules. This cleavage is done by thiolase enzyme. In this step, we are adding CoA SH to this so that we'll get acetyl-CoA at the end. Now the fatty acyl-CoA, which has two carbons less than the parent molecule, will be regenerated. Then again one more cycle occurs. Then again regeneration of two carbon less the product, and then this cycle will be continuing. So now let's see the end products of this cycle. When the even chain fatty acids undergo beta oxidation, we'll get acetyl-CoA molecules. If number of carbons in the chain are even, then we'll get acetyl-CoA molecules. Here 2 carbons will be eliminated. Then we'll get all acetyl-CoA molecules. If the structure is odd chain, if this is odd chain, if this carbon is not there, what happens is 2 will be eliminated. At last, we'll have 3 molecules. So we will also get propionyl-CoA along with acetyl-CoA. When even chain fatty acids undergo beta oxidation, we'll get only acetyl-CoA molecules, and when odd chain fatty acids undergo beta oxidation, we'll get acetyl-CoA, and along with that we'll get propionyl-CoA. Now let's see the energetics of this cycle. For every cycle, we know that one acetyl-CoA is being removed. Okay. For the first cycle, this is removed. For the second cycle, this is removed. For the third cycle, this is removed. In the same way, at the last cycle, there are actually formation of 2 acetyl-CoA groups. That is what written here. Let's take the example of palmitic acid, which has 16 carbons. It undergoes 7 cycles to give 8 acetyl-CoA. As I said, in the last cycle, we can get 2 acetyl-CoA. Hence, palmitic acid, which has 16 carbons, should undergo 7 cycles of beta oxidation. Now, what are the energies we get from these NADH2, FADH2 and acetyl-CoA? What does this acetyl-CoA do is, it enters TCA cycle. As we have studied before in carbohydrate metabolism, with one cycle of TCA, that is tricarboxylic acid cycle, we can generate 10 ATPs from one cycle. In the same way, we have 8 acetyl-CoAs here. So with 8 cycles, we can get 80 ATP, which is very huge. Now let's see in these 7 cycles, what are the outputs here? Here we got 1 FADH2 and 1 NADH2 per cycle. So in 7 cycles, we have got 7 NADH2 and 7 FADH2. As we all know, here 1 FADH2 will give 1.5 ATP and 1 NADH2 will give 2.5 ATP when it goes through electron transport chain. So here 7 FADH2, that is 7 into 1.5 ATP, will give us 10.5 ATP. In the same way, 7 NADH2 is obtained. So 7 into 2.5 ATPs will give us 17.5 ATPs. So overall we have 17.5, 10.5 and 80 ATPs, which forms together 108 ATP. But during the activation of this molecule, we have used 2 ATP. So we have to remove 2 from the 108 and we will get 106 ATPs as net yield. Now let's see how is this regulated in our body. How is this metabolism regulated in our body? It is mainly due to availability of free fatty acids, and it depends on the adipose tissue lipolysis by hormone sensitive lipids. What happens here is these lipids are stimulated by glucagon, epinephrine, norepinephrine and inactivated by insulin. As we all know, adipose tissue is the site where fat is stored, and the presence of insulin hormone inactivates this, and presence of glucagon stimulates this metabolism. How to remember this? There is iron in insulin, iron in inactivated. So insulin is there, then the metabolism is inactivated. Opposite to insulin is glucagon. So when glucagon is there, this metabolism is stimulated. In the same way, epinephrine and norepinephrine's presence will stimulate this metabolism to occur inside the cell. So now we'll see the clinical significance of this metabolism. If something goes wrong in this metabolism, what will it lead to? We'll see that. First thing is, when we have CAT1 deficiency, that is carnitine acyltransferase 1 deficiency, what happens there is, the condition is termed as Jamaican vomiting sickness, and the second condition is sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS. So these two conditions will happen when there is deficiency of dehydrogenases enzyme. What happens is, in this condition there is inhibition of dehydrogenase enzymes. We can see dehydrogenase enzyme everywhere where we remove the hydrogen, and when these hydrogens are not removed, this cycle cannot proceed further. So what happens is, we can see the clinical condition there. One is Jamaican vomiting sickness due to CAT1 deficiency, and there is sudden death in the infants which are born, and that syndrome is known as sudden infant death syndrome. So in this way we come to end of our video, and if you have any doubts you can get back to us on our Telegram channel or even comment below, and the Telegram handles are mentioned in the description box. These notes will be available on our Telegram channel. Kindly check them as well. Please like, share, comment and leave your valuable reviews under each video, and that motivates us. It's very easy to join our family, that is by clicking the subscribe button below, which is completely free. Stay positive, work hard, make it happen. Thank you for your patience.